G'day you lot, welcome back to Stimming with Story, and today we are going to go looking for bugs. I'm going to go hang out in the garden and try to find as many bugs as possible and then try and identify them and give you a little overview on them. I swore I'd never do a research project on my own free will ever again. Okay, so the first one I found was actually pretty easy because these nasty little guys have a nest right outside my bedroom window. Okay, they aren't really nasty per se, but they always set up a nest here no matter how many times we remove them. And last year I got stung twice when I was trying to go past, so we don't really have the best relationship. These guys are common paper wasps. Paper wasps are native to Eastern Australia and are a lot more muted in colour than European wasps or Asian paper wasps. Sorry there isn't a great look at them, I didn't want to get stung again. Paper wasps' nests are made from wood and plant fibres that they grab and chew up. When they mix it with their saliva, it makes a kind of paper mache, and then they lay that into the comb-shaped nests. The next ones I found were also pretty easy, because we have this big tree that has these really cool-looking bell-like pink flowers, gorgeous. Anyway, I usually never go into this part of the garden because it's always covered in bees. These ones are honeybees. They were first introduced to Australia when the first European settlers came, so that they could have lots of honey and stuff. Honeybees, like all bees, are very important to the ecosystem. Cannot understate that. But actually, quite interestingly, the introduction of honeybees has actually harmed some native Australian plants, because some plants here have a particular way of being pollinated that's a job that can only really be performed by native bees. So the prevalence of honeybees means that these plants are more likely to not be pollinated. Alright, this little guy was a weird one. I don't remember seeing something like it before, so I had to actually spend some time trying to identify it. Turns out this is a robber or assassin fly. They're an ambush predator and try to catch their prey mid-flight. They eat lots of different insects like flies, butterflies, moths, damselflies, dragonflies, and even some spiders. The robberfly's larvae also have a taste for other insects, just like their final form, and will eat any available insect eggs, larvae, and other soft-bodied insects. This one might actually be my favourite, not because of its appearance, but because it took me ages to identify it, and now I feel very accomplished. This is the Australian harlequin bug. However, you might notice that the ones I found look nothing like the picture here. That is because it is what is called an instar, which is a stage between molts. Basically, these guys are juvenile harlequin bugs. They also don't really show up when you search Australian harlequin bugs, which is why I had such a hard time trying to figure out what on earth they were. These little guys and their adult forms are sap-sucking insects. So they're pretty hated by gardeners because in large numbers they can cause a lot of damage to plants. Also, their scientific name is Dindymus versicolor, which I just think is really funny. This butterfly is actually pretty cool. So I've seen them all around ever since I was a kid, and I always incorrectly thought they were monarch butterflies. But once doing research for this video, I figured out that no, they're actually called shouldered brown butterflies. They usually appear around midsummer to autumn and are everywhere in February through March. The caterpillars just kind of eat native grasses like kangaroo or wallaby grass, and the butterflies live mostly on nectar, though they are also attracted to fermenting fruit and tree sap. It was actually really cool. I felt like a true wildlife photographer while trying to get a close-up of this guy. I was crawling across the ground and I was trying to be super sneaky. It was actually quite fun. This one was a bit tricky to pin down, but I'm pretty sure that he's a garden orb weaver. Most orb weavers I've ever seen are massive, so I didn't really realise they could be this small. The reason I'm calling this one a he is because I'm pretty sure it's male. Female garden orb weavers are 2 to 3 centimetres long and males are 1.5 to 2 centimetres. So I ended up whipping out the ruler and he's a lot closer to 1.5. Garden orb weavers make little webs in between openings of shrubs and trees and wait for prey to just fly in and get stuck. When an insect gets caught, They run forward on the web and wrap them up until they are mobile, which is what you can actually see this little guy doing here before I interrupted him, and then they bite them so their venom can kill them. Here we have a very common guest, and one of the few spiders I feel perfectly safe picking up. I didn't pick this guy up though, because he looked all cozy in his web. This is a daddy longlegs, or a cellar spider. This particular one is a tailed daddy longlegs. When I was little, I was told that daddy longlegs had the most venomous bite out of all spiders, but that they couldn't bite me because their fangs were too small and short. It turns out that's actually a popular myth, and they can bite people. Their venom is just extremely weak, even to other insects, and their fangs are so small that while they might bite you, you probably wouldn't even feel it. They do, however, tend to hunt much more dangerous spiders, which is theorised to be part of the reason the myth first came into being. Because they have like really long legs and the reach that gives them, instead of actually biting to kill the prey, they'll wrap up other spiders in their webs from a distance and immobilise them before they go and kill them. So it's actually quite an interesting technique. You've most likely seen these guys before if you go outside. I knew it would only be a matter of time before I found some. These are black garden ants. During summer, they can grow wings and will go off flying in search of more colonies, both to mate and to form new ones. Most of them are male ants, but if you're lucky, you might see some really big ones. These are sexually mature queens, and they're off to mate and find a nice place to start a new colony. Like, it's really interesting, and it's all well and good, but if you don't know this beforehand and your house happens to be in the way of some migrating ants, it can be pretty freaky because they tend to come in at head height. These guys always seem to be everywhere. It was actually really hard to get a good shot of them because, unlike the shouldered brown, they wouldn't sit still at all. They also move super erratically and are deceptively fast. These are cabbage white butterflies. We usually call them cabbage moths, even though they aren't moths. They're one of the most common butterflies in Australia, once they were accidentally introduced, most likely through vegetables and stuff being transported to Australia. They're considered a pest because the caterpillars feed on cabbages and most other common veggies that you can find in a veggie garden. The caterpillars are really cute, and one time when I was in primary school, one hitched a ride on my hat into class, and so the whole time I was just like playing with it. They're like really soft and like a really bright green. They're super cute, and they got these tiny little nubby feet. I feel really bad for the caterpillar because he was probably like terrified. But I did set him free, and I think I named him before I set him free. I can't remember exactly what it was. It was like something like Roger or something, but I hope Roger's doing well. And now, to close off our buggies, we have a special guest. I was really hoping to find one of these guys. Welcome to the drop-tail lizard. Well, they're actually called common garden skinks, but we've always called them drop-tails because, guess what? They can drop their tails. When they're threatened and can't escape, they will detach their tails to distract their attacker. The tail moves independently from the body and actually wiggles around, so you can understand why that would be pretty distracting. It's really cool to see, but also very unsettling if you don't know that that's what happens beforehand. A kid in my primary school traumatized like 6-year-old me when after we tried to catch a drop tail and dropped its tail because he pretended to eat the tail while it was still wiggling. It was a rather confronting experience. And that was all of the little buggy guys that I could find in my garden. Honestly, there wasn't really as many as I thought there'd be. I thought I would at least find some aphids, but I mean, I actually had a lot of fun doing this. Like, trying to identify all the insects was really fun, and I'd actually really like to do it again sometime. The research part wasn't so fun, but it wasn't as bad as I thought, so that's something. And one more quick thing before I let you guys skedaddle back off into your lives. I got inspired when I was doing the research portion, and if I can I drew all our little buggy friends. So over here we have Dindy, the Australian Harlequin Instar, Dindym's Versicolor. I'm thinking she gives me wannabe opera singer who's performing in the choir to try and get enough clout. We have Robin Yu, the robber or assassin fly. I reckon that he's like he's like a really incompetent thief, and everyone just feels super bad for him, so they always let him off on bail. This is probably my favourite out of all the drawings. The shouldered brown butterfly, Miss Brown. She gives me weathered older owner of an underground evening lounge back when they were doing like bootlegging and stuff like that. Here we have the little man himself, Webster, the garden orb weaver. This little guy is a serial killer, and he's also really happy for some reason, and that poor fly. We have Pops over here, the tail daddy longlegs. He's your average suburban dad, with lots of praise for you, and he really just wants to tell you about his latest fishing haul. Over here we have Stell, the common paper wasp. She's a manager in a corporate setting, and she's just really sick of her employees goofing off. We have Barb over here, who's a honeybee. I reckon she looks like she'd be an explorer in a distant land trying to find new resources for her her society. And we have Anton, the black garden ant. He just kind of gives me perpetually on a smoko. And we have Monsieur Blanc, the white cabbage moth. He gives me, he's probably a musician. I think he gives me like fancy stage musician, maybe violin or piano. And we have our little special guest, Lizzie, the common garden skink, who's wearing a really cute little onesie, and I love her very much. And I think she looks like a cosplayer. I reckon she'd cosplay. Anyway, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and honoured extraterrestrials. That is the current lineup.